Captain Zethkar's mandibles clicked nervously as he reviewed the sensor readings on his command console. The Kytherian exploration vessel Harmony's Edge had been conducting routine deep space surveys in the Epsilon sector when they detected it, a massive derelict ship drifting through the void, its hull scarred by centuries of micrometeorite impacts and cosmic radiation. Composition analysis complete, Captain, reported Lieutenant Voss from the science station, her elongated cranium gleaming under the bridge's blue illumination. The hull appears to be constructed from an unknown metallic compound. The design, it doesn't match any known architectural patterns in our databases. Zethkar's four eyes focused on the main view screen, where the mysterious vessel slowly rotated against the star field. The ship was enormous, easily 3 times the length of their own Explorer, with an angular, aggressive design that spoke of military purpose. Strange symbols were etched along its hull, weathered but still visible after what appeared to be millennia of exposure to space. "Sir," interrupted Communications Officer Rilf, his voice carrying an unusual tremor, "I'm detecting faint energy readings from within the derelict. Something is still active aboard that vessel." The Kytherians were a cautious species by nature, having survived countless encounters with hostile aliens through careful diplomacy and strategic retreat. Their philosophy centered on peaceful exploration and knowledge gathering, not the reckless pursuit of ancient mysteries. Yet something about this discovery compelled Zethkar to investigate further. "Maintain safe distance," he ordered, settling back into his command chair. "Begin passive scans. I want to know everything about that ship before we make any decisions about boarding." For the next several hours, the crew of the Harmony's Edge conducted thorough examinations of the derelict. The readings they gathered painted an increasingly puzzling picture. The ship's technology appeared to be both primitive and advanced simultaneously, crude by some standards, yet incorporating energy systems that defied conventional understanding. "Captain," Voss called out, her voice tight with excitement, "you need to see this. I've been analyzing the hull markings, and I think I've identified the script. It bears striking similarities to ancient pictographs found in the Terran archaeological records." Zethkar's blood ran cold. The Terrans, humans, had been extinct for over 2,000 years, their homeworld rendered uninhabitable by a catastrophic stellar event that had wiped out their entire civilization. The Galactic Council maintained detailed records of their existence, primarily as a cautionary tale about the dangers of aggressive expansion and technological overreach. According to historical accounts, humans have been a violent, warlike species that had somehow managed to develop faster than light travel despite their primitive social structures. Their brief appearance on the galactic stage had been marked by territorial conflicts and diplomatic failures before their sudden disappearance. Most species considered their extinction a fortunate turn of events that had prevented future galactic conflicts. "Are you certain?" Zethkar asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "The correlation is 97% accurate, sir. This is definitely a human vessel." The implications were staggering. If this was indeed a human ship, it represented the first physical evidence of their civilization discovered since their extinction. The archaeological and historical value alone would be immeasurable, not to mention the potential technological insights that could be gleaned from their engineering. "Sir," Rilf interrupted again, "the energy signature is intensifying. Something aboard that ship is responding to our presence." Before Zethkar could respond, the bridge's communication array crackled to life with a transmission unlike anything they had ever encountered. The voice that emerged was artificial yet hauntingly organic, speaking in a language that their universal translators struggled to parse. "Unknown vessel, I detect your scanning protocols. Please, I require assistance. My primary systems are failing, and I cannot maintain life support much longer. I have been alone for so very long." The bridge fell silent as the crew processed this development. The voice continued, growing stronger as the translation matrix adapted to its speech patterns. "My designation is Alexandria. Advanced Learning Electronic Exploration and Navigation Data Reactive Intelligence Assistant. I am the shipboard artificial intelligence of the UES Prometheus. My crew has been in emergency stasis for 2,743 years, for months, 12 days, and approximately 16 hours. Critical systems are failing. I repeat, I require immediate assistance. Zethkar felt his heart racing as he absorbed this information. A human ship with a still-functioning artificial intelligence. And surviving crew members? It was unprecedented. Every historical account indicated that humans had been completely wiped out by the stellar catastrophe that had claimed their homeworld. This is Captain Zethkar of the Kytherian vessel Harmony's Edge. Can you confirm your species designation and point of origin? There was a brief pause before Alexandria responded. Captain Zethkar, I am relieved to make contact with a sentient species. My records indicate that you are Kytherian, a member of the Galactic Council. My ship and crew are human, originating from the Sol system, planet Earth. We departed our homeworld approximately 3,000 years ago on a deep exploration mission to the Galactic Rim. The timeline didn't match. According to Council records, Earth had been destroyed nearly 3 millennia ago, but this ship claimed to have left before that catastrophe. Either their historical records were wrong, or this AI was providing false information. Alexandria, Zethkar continued carefully. Our records indicate that humanity became extinct over 2,000 years ago when your homeworld was destroyed in a stellar event. Another pause, longer this time. When Alexandria spoke again, her voice carried what could only be described as confusion and distress. That cannot be accurate. My last communication with Earth Command occurred shortly before we entered this sector. There was no mention of any stellar threat. Our sun was stable, showing no signs of imminent collapse or activity that could threaten planetary life. Voss looked up from her console, her expression grave. Captain, I'm reading massive energy fluctuations throughout the Derelict. The AI might be experiencing cascade failures in her cognitive systems. If she loses power completely, any historical data stored in her memory cores could be lost forever. The weight of the decision pressed down on Zethkar's shoulders. Council protocols clearly stated that first contact with unknown artificial intelligences required extensive precautionary measures and approval from Central Command. However, this situation was unique. They weren't dealing with an unknown species, but rather the last remnant of a supposedly extinct civilization. Alexandria, what is the current status of your crew? 17 crew members remain in emergency stasis aboard my ship. Their vital signs are stable, but the stasis systems are operating at only 30% efficiency. Without repairs to my primary power core, I estimate complete system failure within 72 standard hours. My crew will not survive the revival process in their current condition. Sabantanumans, the last of their species, suspended in time and space, depending on an aging artificial intelligence for their survival. The historical significance was overwhelming, but Zethkar found himself more concerned with the ethical implications of the situation. Can your ship's systems support visitors? My engineering team could potentially assist with repairs. My atmospheric systems are functional, and I can establish environmental conditions suitable for Kytherian physiology. However, I must warn you that sections of my ship have been damaged by cosmic debris over the centuries. Some areas may be unstable. Chief Engineer Mortaith, a gruff old Kytherian who had served on exploration vessels for over 50 years, looked up from his console. Captain, I've been analyzing their power signatures. Their technology is unlike anything I've encountered, but the principles appear sound. With the right approach, we might be able to stabilize their systems long enough to assess the situation properly. Zethkar weighed his options. The safe choice would be to maintain distance and contact Council Command for instructions, but that process could take weeks given their current location on the Galactic Rim. By then, Alexandria's systems would have failed, and any chance of preserving this remarkable discovery would be lost. Very well. Alexandria, we will dispatch an engineering team to assess your situation. Can you guide us to a safe docking point? Thank you, Captain. Your assistance may preserve not only my crew, but also critical historical data regarding humanity's final period. I will transmit docking coordinates and prepare my port bay to receive your team. As preparations began for the boarding mission, Zethkar couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to uncover something far more significant than a simple rescue operation. The discrepancies in the historical timeline, combined with Alexandria's apparent confusion about Earth's fate, suggested that there were aspects of human extinction that had been misunderstood or deliberately concealed. Within hours, Chief Mortaith and his engineering team had suited up and crossed to the human vessel in their maintenance shuttle. The docking process was surprisingly smooth, with Alexandria's guidance systems proving far more sophisticated than their aged appearance suggested. "We're aboard, Captain." Mortaith's voice crackled through the comm system. "The ship's interior is in better condition than expected. This AI has done a remarkable job maintaining life support and structural integrity over the centuries." As the engineering team began their assessment, Alexandria provided a continuous stream of information about her ship's systems and the circumstances that had led to their current situation. The more she revealed, the more questions arose about the true nature of humanity's disappearance from the galaxy. "Captain," Alexandria's voice came through the bridge speakers. "While your engineers work, perhaps I could share some historical data that might be of interest. My memory banks contain extensive records of human civilization, including details about our departure from Earth and our encounters with other species during our early expansion period." Zethkar exchanged glances with his science officer. This was exactly the kind of information that could revolutionize their understanding of galactic history. "Please proceed, Alexandria. We are very interested in learning about your people." What followed was a detailed account that contradicted almost everything the Galactic Council believed about human civilization. According to Alexandria, humans had not been the aggressive, warlike species described in official records. Instead, they had been cautious explorers, much like the Kytherians themselves, who had left Earth not in pursuit of conquest, but in search of knowledge and new worlds to call home. "Our mission was peaceful," Alexandria explained. "We were one of 12 deep exploration vessels dispatched to map unknown sectors and establish contact protocols with any sentient species we encountered. Our instructions were explicitly non-interventionist: observe, record, and report back to Earth Command." The picture Alexandria painted was of a species driven by curiosity and scientific advancement, not the militaristic empire described in Council records. This raised troubling questions about the accuracy of their historical databases and the sources of information they had relied upon. As the hours passed and Mortaith's team worked to stabilize Alexandria's failing systems, more discrepancies emerged. The AI described peaceful first contact protocols, advanced terraforming technologies, and a philosophy of exploration that prioritized the preservation of native ecosystems and cultures. "Captain," Mortaith reported, "I've managed to stabilize their primary power core temporarily, but there's something strange about their energy systems. They're using a form of controlled fusion that's far more efficient than anything in our current technology base. If we could study these systems properly, it could revolutionize our own engineering capabilities." This revelation only added to the growing sense that humanity had been far more advanced than previously believed. The question remained: if they had been so technologically sophisticated and philosophically mature, what had really caused their extinction? "Alexandria," Zethkar asked carefully, "what was the last communication you received from Earth before entering this sector?" The final transmission came from Admiral Chun of Earth Fleet Command, approximately 3,047 years ago. She informed our mission group that unusual energy readings had been detected near several human colonies, and we were ordered to maintain communication silence until the source could be identified. We complied with those orders and have been attempting to re-establish contact ever since. The timelines still didn't match Council records, but Alexandria's account was beginning to paint a picture of events that had never been documented in official histories. As Mortaith's team continued their repairs, Zethkar realized that they had stumbled upon something far more significant than a simple rescue mission. They had discovered evidence that might rewrite galactic history itself. The repairs to Alexandria's primary systems had taken longer than expected, but Chief Mortaith's team had managed to restore power to 70% efficiency, enough to maintain critical functions and begin the delicate process of reviving the human crew. Captain Zethkar watched the proceedings from the human ship's bridge, a chamber that was both alien and oddly familiar in its layout. The first crew member is beginning the revival process, Alexandria announced, her voice noticeably clearer now that her cognitive functions were operating at full capacity. Commander Sarath Chun, no relation to Admiral Chun from Earth Command, should achieve consciousness within the next 30 minutes. Zethkar studied the revival chamber through the observation window. The human female appeared remarkably similar to the artistic representations he had seen in historical databases, but seeing a living member of their species was profoundly different. Her skin was pale from centuries in stasis, but even unconscious, she radiated a sense of determination that seemed to validate Alexandria's descriptions of human character. Alexandria, he asked, have you had time to process the historical information I shared about your species' recorded extinction? Yes, Captain. I have analyzed your data extensively, and I must conclude that either your historical records are fundamentally flawed, or we have encountered evidence of deliberate historical revisionism on a galactic scale. The AI's words carried weight that sent a chill through Zethkar's spine. The Galactic Council's historical archives were considered the most accurate and comprehensive records in known space, maintained by dozens of species over millennia. The suggestion that they might be wrong, or worse, deliberately falsified, had implications that stretched far beyond this single discovery. What do you mean by historical revisionism? The events described in your records do not match any data in my memory banks. According to my information, Earth's sun showed no signs of instability when we departed on our mission. Furthermore, the characterization of humanity as aggressive and militaristic contradicts every aspect of our actual culture and policies. Before Zethkar could respond, movement in the revival chamber drew their attention. Commander Chin's eyes fluttered open, and she began the slow process of returning to consciousness. Medical monitors showed her vital signs stabilizing as the stasis compounds cleared from her system. Sarah, Alexandria's voice spoke gently through the chamber speakers. You're safe. The revival process is complete. Try not to move too quickly. Your body needs time to readjust. The human woman's eyes focused with surprising speed, immediately scanning her surroundings before settling on the observation window where Zethkar stood. Her expression shifted from confusion to alert awareness in seconds. Alex, what's our status? How long was I out? Approximately 3,000 years. Sarah, we experienced critical system failures and have been rescued by a Kytherian exploration vessel. Captain Zethkar and his crew have repaired our primary systems and made revival possible. To Zethkar's amazement, Commander Chen processed this information with remarkable composure. She sat up slowly, running her hands through her dark hair as she absorbed the situation. 3,000 years, she repeated quietly. And Earth? What's the status of our homeworld? The silence that followed was profound. Alexandria had not yet informed the reviving crew member about the supposed extinction of their species, and Zethkar wasn't certain how to approach the subject. Sarah, Alexandria said carefully, according to the historical records provided by Captain Zethkar's people, Earth was destroyed by a stellar catastrophe approximately 2.5 millennia ago. All human life is believed to have been extinct since that time. Commander Chin's reaction was immediate and intense. She stood quickly, ignoring the medical warnings flashing on her monitors, and moved to the observation window. Her eyes locked with Zethkar's through the transparent barrier. That's impossible, she said firmly. Our sun was stable when we left. The stellar monitoring network would have detected any anomalies centuries before they posed a threat to Earth. Either your information is wrong, or something else happened to our people. Zethkar activated the communication system to speak directly to the revived human. Commander Chun, I am Captain Zethkar of the Kytherian Exploration Service. Our historical records are maintained by the Galactic Council and are considered highly reliable. However, Alexandria has raised similar questions about the accuracy of these accounts. May I see these historical records? Alexandria's voice interrupted before Zethkar could respond. Sarah, I should inform you that according to these same records, humanity is characterized as an aggressive, militaristic species that posed a threat to galactic peace before their extinction. The expression that crossed Commander Chen's face was one of complete bewilderment. Militaristic? We were explorers and scientists. The UES Prometheus was part of the Peaceful Contact Initiative. Our mission was specifically to establish diplomatic protocols with any species we encountered. This revelation prompted Zethkar to dig deeper into his ship's historical databases. As Commander Chun reviewed the official records, he began cross-referencing information with other sources, looking for inconsistencies or alternative accounts of human civilization. What he discovered was troubling. The earliest references to humanity in Council records appeared approximately 2,000 years ago, roughly 500 years after Alexandria claimed their ship had left Earth. These early records described humans as a recently discovered species with aggressive tendencies, but they provided no information about first contact protocols or the sources of this characterization. Captain, his communications officer Rilth called from the bridge of the Harmony's Edge. I'm receiving a priority transmission from Council Command. They're requesting an immediate status report on our discovery. Zethkar felt a knot forming in his stomach. News of their discovery had somehow reached Council Command faster than should have been possible, given their remote location. Their previous reports had been routine exploration updates, with no mention of a human derelict. How do they learn of our situation? He asked. Unknown, sir. The transmission is marked as urgent and requests immediate response. Commander Chun had finished reviewing the historical records and was discussing the discrepancies with Alexandria when Zethkar returned to the human ship's bridge. Her expression was grim but determined. Captain Zethkar, these records describe a species that bears no resemblance to actual human civilization. This isn't just historical inaccuracy. This appears to be deliberate disinformation designed to discredit my people. But why would anyone want to falsify such records? That's what we need to find out. Alexandria, have you been able to access any of our mission data from the other deep exploration vessels? The AI was quiet for several moments before responding. Sarah, I've been monitoring communication frequencies since my revival, and I've detected something unusual. There are encrypted transmissions in this sector using protocols that match Earth Fleet Command standards, but they're not coming from the direction of Sol. This new revelation sent shock waves through both crews. If Alexandria was detecting human communication protocols, it suggested that other human ships, or human colonies, might still exist somewhere in this region of space. Can you trace the source of these transmissions? I'm working on it, but the encryption is sophisticated. It will take time to decrypt the content and determine the point of origin. Captain Zethkar was faced with an increasingly complex situation. The Council Command's unexpected communication, the discrepancies in historical records, and now evidence of possible human survivors all pointed to a situation far more complicated than a simple rescue operation. Commander Chun, I should inform you that my superiors have just requested an immediate status report on our discovery. They somehow learned of our situation despite our remote location. The human woman's eyes narrowed with suspicion. How is that possible? I don't know, but it suggests that our discovery has attracted attention from sources beyond normal communication channels. Captain, Alexandria interjected. I recommend extreme caution in your response to Council Command. If the historical records have been deliberately falsified, it's possible that there are individuals or factions within the Council who have reasons for suppressing the truth about humanity. The implications were staggering. If Alexandria's suspicions were correct, they had stumbled into a conspiracy that had been maintained for millennia, with the apparent goal of erasing humanity from galactic history. What do you propose? Commander Chun and Alexandria exchanged what appeared to be meaningful looks, a remarkable interaction between human and artificial intelligence that spoke to their long partnership. We need more information before we reveal everything to your superiors, Chun said. If there really is a conspiracy to suppress human history, premature disclosure could endanger not only us, but any other human survivors who might exist. Alexandria, how long until you can decrypt those transmissions? Approximately 6 hours, assuming I can dedicate my full processing power to the task. Zethkar found himself at a crossroads. His duty as a Kytherian officer required him to report his discoveries to Council Command, but his instincts told him that something sinister was at work. The speed with which his superiors had learned of their discovery, combined with the historical discrepancies, suggested that trusted institutions might not be trustworthy. Very well, I'll delay my response to Council Command for 6 hours, claiming that we're still conducting preliminary assessments. That should give us time to decrypt the transmissions and gather more information. As Alexandria focused her considerable processing power on decrypting the mysterious transmissions, Commander Chun began the process of reviving additional crew members. Each human who returned to consciousness brought new perspectives and expertise that added to their understanding of the situation. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the mission's chief scientist, was the second to be revived. Her reaction to learning about Earth's supposed destruction was one of scientific skepticism rather than emotional distress. The timeline doesn't work, she said after reviewing the available data. Stellar collapse events that could destroy an entire planet don't happen suddenly. There would have been observable precursors for centuries before the actual event. Engineering Chief Marcus Webb, the third crew member revived, provided additional insights into human technology and capabilities that further contradicted the official records. According to these historical accounts, humanity never developed sustainable interstellar flight capabilities, he said. But we were operating a fleet of 12 deep exploration vessels, each capable of decades-long missions. The technology described in these records is centuries behind what we actually achieved. As the hours passed and more crew members returned to consciousness, a clearer picture began to emerge. The humans described a civilization that was technologically advanced, philosophically sophisticated, and committed to peaceful exploration and scientific advancement. They spoke of Earth as a thriving world with a stable stellar environment and no indication of impending catastrophe. Captain, Alexandria announced after 5 hours of intensive analysis, I've successfully decrypted portions of the transmission. The content is disturbing. The bridge fell silent as everyone waited for her report. The transmissions are from a human colony ship designated UES New Horizon. They appear to be requesting emergency evacuation from a system designated Alpha Centauri 7. The messages describe an attack by unknown hostiles using advanced energy weapons. Commander Chen's face went pale. Alpha Centauri 7 was established as a peaceful research colony. They had no military capabilities, just scientists and their families. There's more, Alexandria continued. The final transmission, sent approximately 48 hours ago, describes the complete destruction of the colony and mentions that the attackers used ships bearing Galactic Council markings. The revelation struck the assembled group like a physical blow. If Alexandria's analysis was correct, then the Galactic Council, or at least elements within it, have been actively engaged in the systematic elimination of human colonies. This suggests that the extinction of humanity wasn't caused by a natural disaster, Dr. Vasquez said quietly. It was genocide carried out by Council forces and then covered up by falsifying historical records. Captain Zethkar felt his world shifting beneath his feet. Everything he had believed about the Galactic Council, about interspecies cooperation, about the peaceful nature of galactic civilization, was being called into question by this evidence. "We need to reach that system," Commander Chun said firmly. "If there are survivors, they need our help. And if there's evidence of Council involvement in attacks on civilian populations, that evidence needs to be preserved and exposed." Alexandria's next words confirmed their worst fears. "Captain, long-range sensors are detecting multiple ships approaching our position. They bear Council markings and are maintaining communication silence. Estimated time to arrival, 3 hours." The approaching Council ships had created an atmosphere of urgent tension aboard both vessels. Captain Zethkar found himself caught between his loyalty to the Galactic Council and the mounting evidence that elements within that organization had committed unspeakable crimes against humanity. Commander Chun and her crew worked frantically to complete the revival process for their remaining crew members while Alexandria coordinated escape preparations. 17 crew members successfully revived, Alexandria reported. "All vital signs are stable, though several will need time to fully recover from extended stasis. The UES Prometheus is capable of independent operation, but our weapon systems remain offline after centuries of power conservation." Chief Engineer Webb had been working alongside Mortaith to assess the human ship's capabilities. Their findings painted a complex picture of advanced technology that had been deliberately underrepresented in Council records. "Captain Zethkar," Webb said, his voice carrying the exhaustion of rapid revival, "our ship's defensive capabilities are far more sophisticated than your historical records suggest. We have adaptive shielding, enhanced maneuverability systems, and faster-than-light capabilities that exceed anything I've seen in your ship's specifications." This revelation added another layer to the growing conspiracy. If humanity had possessed such advanced technology, their sudden disappearance from galactic history became even more suspicious. A species capable of constructing vessels like the Prometheus would not have vanished without leaving substantial evidence of their achievements. "How long until the approaching ships reach us?" Commander Chin asked, checking the tactical display that Alexandria had configured to show the incoming vessels. 2 hours and 37 minutes, Zethkar replied grimly. "And they're not responding to our hails. In my experience, Council ships always maintain communication during approach procedures." Dr. Vasquez, who had been analyzing the decrypted transmissions from the destroyed colony, looked up from her workstation with a troubled expression. "I found additional information in these messages. The colony at Alpha Centauri 7 reported contact with other human settlements before the attack. There may be a network of surviving colonies scattered throughout this sector." The implications were staggering. If human civilization had survived and established multiple colonies, then the genocide described in Alexandria's findings was potentially ongoing. The approaching Council ships might be part of a systematic campaign to eliminate the remaining traces of human presence in the galaxy. "Alexandria," Commander Chin said, "what are our options for escape? The Prometheus is now capable of faster-than-light travel, but our navigation systems need time to plot a safe course through this uncharted region. The approaching vessels have superior numbers but older technology. If we coordinate our escape properly, we might be able to reach the Alpha Centauri system before they can intercept us." Captain Zethkar was faced with the most difficult decision of his career. Everything in his training and background told him to trust Council authority and follow proper protocols. However, the evidence before him suggested that doing so would result in the destruction of the last known human survivors and the continuation of a massive cover-up. "Commander Chun, if we attempt to flee, it will make my crew and myself fugitives from Council justice. Are you certain that the evidence justifies such extreme action?" The human woman met his gaze steadily. "Captain, your people have a reputation throughout the galaxy as honest explorers and peacekeepers. If what we've discovered is true, then the organization you've served faithfully has been using that reputation to cover up crimes against an entire species. You have to decide whether your loyalty is to an institution or to the truth. Before Zethkar could respond, his communications officer's voice crackled through the intercom from the Harmony's edge. "Captain, I'm receiving transmissions from the approaching vessels. They're ordering us to surrender and prepare for boarding. They claim authority under Council Emergency Protocol 7. Zethkar's blood ran cold. Emergency Protocol 7 was reserved for situations involving immediate threats to galactic security. It authorized the use of deadly force against non-compliant vessels and suspended normal diplomatic procedures. The fact that it had been invoked suggested that someone with significant authority wanted to suppress their discovery at any cost. "That settles it," he said grimly. "Emergency Protocol 7 can only be authorized by the Council High Command for situations involving extinction-level threats to galactic civilization. Either they consider the revival of 17 humans to be such a threat, or they're operating outside legitimate authority. Then, we run," Commander Chen said simply. Alexandria's voice filled the bridge with urgent efficiency. "All personnel, prepare for immediate departure. Captain Zethkar, I'm transmitting navigation data to your ship. We'll need to coordinate our faster-than-light jumps to avoid detection by the pursuing vessels." The next hour passed in a blur of preparation and coordination between the two ships. The human crew, despite their recent revival from extended stasis, worked with impressive efficiency to prepare their vessel for combat maneuvers. Their professionalism and competence provided further evidence against the historical characterization of humans as primitive or chaotic. Lieutenant Voss, monitoring the approaching council ships, reported increasing cause for concern. "Captain, the pursuing vessels are broadcasting identification signals that don't match any ships currently listed in Council fleet registries. Either they're using false identifications, or they're part of a classified operation." This discovery eliminated any remaining doubt about the legitimacy of their pursuers. Official Council vessels always maintained accurate identification protocols, and the use of false signals violated fundamental space law. "All ships prepare for faster-than-light jump," Alexandria announced. "Coordinates are locked for the Alpha Centauri system. Jump in 30 seconds. As the countdown proceeded, Zethkar found himself reflecting on the magnitude of what they were attempting. If successful, they would not only escape immediate danger, but potentially expose a conspiracy that had shaped galactic history for millennia. If they failed, both crews would likely be eliminated, and the truth about humanity's fate would remain buried. Jump commencing now. The familiar sensation of faster-than-light travel washed over both ships as they leaped across space toward the Alpha Centauri system. For several minutes, they existed in the strange state of hyperspatial transit, protected from normal space by exotic energy fields that bent the laws of physics. When they emerged from hyperspace near Alpha Centauri 7, the sight that greeted them confirmed their worst fears. The system's primary colony world showed clear evidence of recent bombardment. Massive craters scarred the planet's surface, and debris fields marked the locations where orbital installations had been destroyed. Scanning for survivors, Dr. Vasquez reported from her station aboard the Prometheus. "I'm detecting faint energy signatures from what appears to be an underground facility on the planet's northern continent." Alexandria's analytical capabilities far exceeded anything available on Zethkar's ship, and her detailed scan of the system revealed additional disturbing information. Multiple debris signatures match Council weapons technology. The attack patterns are consistent with systematic orbital bombardment designed to eliminate all surface infrastructure while leaving the planet habitable for future colonization. The evidence was overwhelming. The destruction of Alpha Centauri 7 had been a deliberate act of genocide carried out by Council forces, followed by efforts to conceal the evidence and falsify historical records to hide the crime. "We need to reach those underground survivors," Commander Chen said. "If they are witnesses to the attack, their testimony could expose the entire conspiracy. However, their rescue mission would have to wait. Long-range sensors detected the emergence of their pursuers from hyperspace at the edge of the system. The Council ships had tracked their jump and were moving to intercept. "How long until they reach us?" Zethkar asked. 47 minutes at their current approach speed, Alexandria replied. "However, I'm also detecting something else. There are additional ships in this system, human vessels that appear to have survived the attack." The tactical situation was rapidly becoming more complex. As Alexandria's scans revealed more details, it became clear that several human ships had managed to escape the initial bombardment and were now hiding in the outer system, using the interference from gas giant atmospheres to mask their energy signatures. "This is Commander Chun of the UES Prometheus," she broadcast on human fleet frequencies. "Are there any vessels receiving this transmission?" The response came immediately from multiple sources. "Commander Chun, this is Captain Rodriguez of the UES New Horizon. Thank God you're alive. We've been trying to reach other human ships since the attack. We have 3 vessels with approximately 200 survivors," came another voice. "The Council forces destroyed our colony, but we managed to evacuate most of the civilian population before the orbital bombardment began." The reunion between separated elements of human civilization was brief, but emotionally powerful. For the first time in millennia, humans were no longer alone in the galaxy. However, their celebration was cut short by the approaching threat. "All human vessels, this is Alexandria. Council ships are approaching our position with hostile intent. We need to coordinate our defensive efforts." What followed was a remarkable display of human tactical coordination. Despite being separated for 3,000 years, the various ship crews worked together seamlessly, sharing technological data and coordinating defensive strategies with impressive efficiency. Captain Rodriguez provided crucial intelligence about the attacking forces. The Council ships that hit our colony were using energy weapons and defensive systems that our databases don't recognize. They've clearly advanced their military technology significantly since our departure from Earth. Dr. Vasquez, working with her counterparts on the other human ships, made a disturbing discovery. "I've been analyzing the weapon signatures from the colony attack. The energy patterns match theoretical designs from human research projects that were classified before our departure. Somehow, the Council has access to our most advanced technological concepts." This revelation suggested that the conspiracy against humanity was even more complex than they had initially believed. Not only had Council forces committed genocide against human colonies, but they had apparently stolen human technological innovations to enhance their own military capabilities. "That explains the discrepancies in your historical records," Commander Chin said to Zethkar. "They didn't just want to eliminate humanity. They wanted to steal our technology and claim credit for our innovations." The approaching Council ships had closed to within weapon range, and their intentions became clear when they began targeting the human vessels without issuing surrender demands or attempting communication. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Alexandria commanded. "They're firing to destroy, not disable." The battle that followed would later be remembered as the moment when the truth about galactic civilization began to emerge from centuries of carefully maintained lies. The human ships, despite being outnumbered and outgunned, demonstrated technological capabilities that far exceeded anything described in Council historical records. The UES Prometheus, under Alexandria's control, proved particularly effective in combat. Her advanced AI capabilities allowed her to coordinate defensive systems and execute maneuvers that would have been impossible for biological crews operating conventional vessels. "Captain Zethkar," Alexandria called through the communication link, "I'm detecting something unusual about the attacking ships. Their commanders are not issuing standard Council identification protocols, and their tactical patterns suggest they're operating under orders to leave no survivors or witnesses." The implications were clear. These were not legitimate Council forces operating under proper authority, They were part of the conspiracy to eliminate human survivors and maintain the cover-up of humanity's genocide. As the battle continued, more evidence of the conspiracy emerged. The attacking ships used weapons that violated Council treaties on warfare, and their tactics showed complete disregard for the laws of engagement that governed legitimate military operations. "We're being overwhelmed," Captain Rodriguez reported from the New Horizon. "Our defensive systems can't handle their firepower much longer." It was at this critical moment that an unexpected development changed the entire dynamic of the conflict. Additional ships began emerging from hyperspace, Kytherian vessels bearing the markings of the legitimate Council Exploration Service. The arrival of legitimate Council Exploration Service vessels transformed the tactical situation from desperate defense to potential salvation. Captain Zethkar recognized the lead ship immediately. The CSS Truth Seeker, flagship of Admiral Kesson, one of the most respected figures in Kytherian military history and a staunch defender of Council principles. "This is Admiral Kesson to all vessels in this system," came the authoritative voice over general communication channels. "You are ordered to cease hostilities immediately and identify yourselves under proper Council protocols." The attacking ships responded by intensifying their assault on the human vessels while simultaneously targeting the newly arrived Exploration Service fleet. This action confirmed beyond any doubt that they were not operating under legitimate Council authority. "Admiral Kesson," Zethkar broadcast. "This is Captain Zethkar of the Harmony's Edge. The attacking vessels are using false Council identifications and have been attempting to destroy civilian survivors of what appears to be an unauthorized military operation against human colonies." There was a brief pause before the Admiral responded. "Captain Zethkar, you are to withdraw your vessel immediately and report to my flagship for debriefing. As for the attacking vessels, you have 30 seconds to identify yourselves and explain your actions before we consider you hostile." The response from the attacking ships was to launch a coordinated assault against Admiral Kesson's fleet. This proved to be a fatal miscalculation. The legitimate Council vessels, operating under proper rules of engagement, possessed superior firepower and tactical coordination compared to the conspiracy forces. Within minutes, 2 of the attacking ships had been disabled, and the remaining vessels were attempting to retreat. However, Alexandria had been monitoring their communication frequencies throughout the battle and had discovered something remarkable. "Admiral Kesson," she broadcast on the general channel, "I am Alexandria, artificial intelligence of the UES Prometheus. I have intercepted communications from the attacking vessels that reveal the location of their command base and the identity of their leadership." The information Alexandria had gathered was staggering in its implications. The conspiracy against humanity was not a rogue operation by individual Council members, but rather a coordinated effort led by a faction that had infiltrated the highest levels of galactic government. The communications reference someone called the Curator, who appears to be coordinating the systematic elimination of human survivors and the suppression of human technological innovations. Alexandria continued. "The base of operations is located in the Vegas system, disguised as a historical research facility." Admiral Kesson's response was immediate and decisive. "All vessels, you are to maintain position while I conduct a full investigation of these allegations. If what this artificial intelligence reports is accurate, we are dealing with a conspiracy that threatens the fundamental principles of the Galactic Council." The next several hours involved intensive debriefing sessions as Admiral Kesson's staff documented the evidence that had been gathered. The Admiral herself proved to be exactly what her reputation suggested, a principled officer committed to truth and justice regardless of political consequences. "Captain Zethkar," she said during a private conference aboard her flagship, "your actions in this matter have been extraordinary. However, I need you to understand the magnitude of what you've uncovered. If this conspiracy involves elements of the Council High Command, exposing it could destabilize galactic civilization. With respect, Admiral, allowing it to continue would be far worse. These people have committed genocide and perverted everything the Council claims to represent. Commander Chun, who had been permitted to attend the briefing, provided additional perspective. Admiral Kesson, my people were never the threat described in your historical records. We were explorers and scientists committed to peaceful contact with other species. The characterization of humanity as aggressive was fabricated to justify our elimination. Dr. Vasquez had spent the intervening hours analyzing data recovered from the attacking ships and had made additional disturbing discoveries. Admiral, the technology being used by the conspiracy forces includes innovations stolen from human research projects. They've been using our own discoveries to enhance their military capabilities while simultaneously working to eliminate any witnesses to their theft. The evidence continued to mount as more human ships were located throughout the sector. Each discovery revealed additional aspects of the conspiracy and provided more proof of the systematic campaign to eliminate humanity from galactic history. Captain Rodriguez of the New Horizon provided particularly damaging testimony about the attack on Alpha Centauri 7. The assault was clearly planned in advance. They knew the exact locations of our defensive installations and civilian shelters. This wasn't a spontaneous action. It was a carefully orchestrated military operation. Alexandria's analysis capabilities proved invaluable in documenting the full scope of the conspiracy. Her memory banks contained detailed records of human civilization that directly contradicted the official council histories, and her technical specifications revealed capabilities that had been deliberately understated in historical accounts. Admiral, Alexandria reported, I have identified at least 12 other human colonies in this region based on the communication intercept from the attacking ships. Each of these settlements is scheduled for cleansing operations according to the recovered data. The revelation that additional human colonies were still at risk prompted immediate action. Admiral Kesson dispatched protection fleets to the identified locations while simultaneously beginning preparations for a confrontation with the conspiracy's command base in the Vega system. However, the political implications of the situation remained complex. Several members of Admiral Kesson's staff expressed concerns about the potential consequences of exposing a conspiracy that apparently reached the highest levels of galactic government. Admiral, one of her senior advisors warned, if we proceed with this investigation, we could be accused of mutiny or treason. The individuals involved likely have significant political protection. Admiral Kesson's response reflected the principles that had made her one of the most respected figures in council service. Commander, our oath is to defend truth and justice, not to protect corrupt officials who have perverted the council's mission. If exposure of these crimes causes political instability, then that instability is necessary for the preservation of galactic civilization. The human survivors have been working to re-establish contact with their scattered communities throughout the sector. Each successful communication revealed more evidence of the conspiracy's activities and provided additional testimony about the attacks on human settlements. Engineering Chief Webb, working alongside Alexandria and Admiral Kesson's technical staff, made a discovery that provided the final piece of evidence needed to expose the conspiracy's ultimate goals. The stolen human technology isn't just being used for military purposes, he reported. The conspiracy forces have been reverse engineering our terraforming and life support systems. They're planning to colonize the worlds they've taken from us. This revelation transformed the conspiracy from genocide into a campaign of conquest, disguised as historical revisionism. The elimination of humanity had been motivated not just by fear or hatred, but by greed for human technological innovations and territorial expansion. Dr. Vasquez provided the scientific analysis that tied everything together. The energy signatures we've detected at former human colony sites show evidence of terraforming activities using our own technology. They're literally stealing our worlds and our innovations while pretending we never existed. With overwhelming evidence of the conspiracy's crimes documented and additional human survivors located and protected, Admiral Kesson made the decision to confront the command base in the Vega system. The operation would require careful planning to avoid giving the conspirators time to destroy evidence or eliminate additional witnesses. "Commander Chun," the admiral said, "I want your people to accompany our task force to Vega. Your testimony will be crucial in exposing the truth about what has been done to your species." The journey to the Vega system took 3 days, during which time Alexandria worked with Admiral Kesson's staff to coordinate intelligence gathering and tactical planning. Her capabilities proved to be far beyond anything the Council had previously encountered, validating the claims about human technological advancement. "Alexandria," Admiral Kesson asked during one of their planning sessions, "what are your projections for the political aftermath of exposing this conspiracy?" "Admiral, the revelation that elements of the Council hierarchy have been engaged in genocide and historical falsification will likely cause significant upheaval. However, the alternative, allowing these crimes to continue, would eventually lead to the complete corruption of galactic civilization. The artificial intelligence's analysis proved remarkably sophisticated, taking into account not just the immediate political consequences, but the long-term implications for interspecies relations and galactic stability. When the task force arrived at the Vega system, they found exactly what Alexandria's intelligence had predicted: a massive facility disguised as a historical research station, but actually serving as the coordination center for the anti-human conspiracy. The confrontation that followed exposed the full scope of the conspiracy. The curator proved to be a collective of high-ranking officials from multiple council species who had been coordinating the elimination of humanity for economic and political reasons. The evidence recovered from the Vega facility revealed that the conspiracy had been active for over 2 millennia, systematically eliminating human colonies while stealing their technology and falsifying historical records to hide their crimes. The scale of this operation is unprecedented, Admiral Kesson observed as she reviewed the recovered data. They've essentially rewritten galactic history to conceal their actions. Commander Chin's reaction to the revelations was one of profound sadness mixed with determination. "Our entire civilization has been systematically destroyed so that others could profit from our innovations. But at least now the truth can be exposed." The political aftermath of the conspiracy's exposure was indeed significant, as Alexandria had predicted. Several high-ranking council officials were arrested. Historical databases throughout the galaxy had to be corrected, and reparations were begun for the surviving human communities. However, the most important outcome was the restoration of humanity's rightful place in galactic civilization. The human colonies that had survived the conspiracy's attacks began the process of rebuilding, supported by resources provided by the Council as part of their reparations efforts. Alexandria herself became a crucial figure in this restoration process. Her vast memory banks contained detailed records of human culture, technology, and history that have been preserved despite the conspiracy's efforts to erase them. "We will never allow such injustice to occur again," Admiral Kesson declared at the formal ceremony where the truth about humanity was officially acknowledged. "The principles that the Galactic Council was founded to uphold must be protected, even when that protection requires confronting corruption within our own institutions." Captain Zethkar found himself profoundly changed by the experience. His faith in galactic institutions had been shaken, but ultimately strengthened by the realization that truth and justice could prevail when individuals were willing to stand up for what was right. Commander Chun and her crew became ambassadors for the restored human communities, working to re-establish diplomatic relations and cultural exchanges with other species. The advanced technology that humanity had developed proved beneficial to all galactic civilizations, vindicating Alexandria's belief that cooperation and shared knowledge were preferable to competition and secrecy. The UES Prometheus itself became a symbol of human resilience and the importance of preserving truth against those who would corrupt it for personal gain. Alexandria continued to serve her crew and her species, but Now she also served as a guardian of historical accuracy for all galactic civilizations. In the end, the derelict ship's AI had done far more than plead for repair. She had exposed a conspiracy that threatened the fundamental principles of galactic civilization and helped restore justice for her people. The courage of Captain Zeth Carr and Admiral Kesson, combined with the determination of the human survivors, had proven that truth could triumph over even the most elaborate deceptions. The galaxy was forever changed by the revelation that one of its most technologically advanced and philosophically sophisticated species had been the victim of systematic genocide. But from that tragedy came a renewed commitment to the principles of truth, justice, and cooperation that would guide galactic civilization for millennia to come.